Hey guys, so before this video starts, I do apologize for the video bitrate. If you guys don't know what bitrate is, it's why the game sometimes looks a little bit squarish and like blurry. Because I streamed the game and recorded at the same time, I'm trying to find the right setting where I can do both and it doesn't affect my CPU. So I'm trying to see because I have it on really fast processing, and when it's fast processing, that means that it doesn't really take its time to really record it at its best quality. So I'm trying to lower the processing rate and understanding where's the balance between the streaming and recording at the same time, right? Like I can do both separately really easy, but when I do both of them at the same time, my CPU sometimes works too much. So I'm trying to find the right balance of being able to record gameplay that looks really good on the eye and be able to stream at a high quality as well, as much as I possibly can. So just wanted to let you guys know, you'll notice that with the game being blurry at times. That's not the game, that's just me recording while I'm streaming. So I hope you guys enjoy the video today. Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here, and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be beginning our myCLUB Road to Glory. So this is basically going to be a no money spent online only, because you guys know me, I really don't like playing against the computer when it comes to games like football simulators. Like if I have a poor team and someone else has a good team, that's just how it's going to be, right? I need to play online so that if I can play with poor players and other people have good players, or whatever it is, vice versa, or whatever it is, how it is straight, I want to be able to get better at the game because it's a learning process, right? Now, because PES 2019 is a completely different game. It's going to take some time to get used to the game because it is a different game. It's very. I feel like it's a little bit inconsiderate to judge the game when you don't play it as much or understand it, because the thing about PES, right, is that the execution of skill moves, the way that you shoot, the way that you pass, the types of plays that you look at, it's a completely different game to FIFA, right? Is it a football simulator? Yes, but it is a completely different game. So it does take getting it does, take some time to get used to. If I'm like stumbling on my words a little bit, it's because I just woke up, so kind of tired. But in regards to PES, I think the game's pretty fun, right? Like as of right now in myCLUB, when you start off a Road to Glory, your team isn't going to be the greatest. Like you're going to have a lot of really poor players. It takes a while to play some online games to build up your teams, because I think the way that it works right now is that you get 1800 GP or so if you win your matches in PES for myCLUB. If you lose, I think you actually get less, but I'm not exactly sure how it works. But there is a progression system to it, right? So I think that's how it is generally in this game. If you win your matches, you just generally gain more coins. If you lose your matches, you get less coins, but you're still gaining coins, right? The cool thing about PES is that the record doesn't show on the main screen. So you know how in FIFA it's basically like shoved in your face. Like if someone wanted to see your record, you would have to go into, and for PES, you would have to go into the settings tab or your myCLUB records, which is a separate settings like page basically, where that's the only place that you can see your record by itself, right? Which I think is amazing, by the ways, because the game heavily emphasizes that your rank is what matters, but how you got to that rank doesn't matter, right? It's the same thing with like Overwatch, right? Like in Overwatch, you can see how many games you won, but the thing that people care about the most is the overall rank that you're in. So I really like that the record doesn't show on the main screen, because it promotes you to have more fun with the game. If you lose a game 4-0 or you lose a game 5-0 because you're trying out a different team, it doesn't seem as relevant. Like obviously, like you lose the rank that you're in, because there's ranked matches. We'll get into that in a bit. There's ranked matches that you play, right, where you play 10 ranked matches, and then the game kind of tells you, okay, you kind of belong in this general area, and then you continue to play ranked matches for weekly rewards, right? So I think my record was like, it might have been, I think it was, I know that at one point it was 6-3-3, so it might have been 6-3-1. No, I'm pretty sure I lost 3 matches for sure. I think the ties came afterwards. So it might have been 3. It might have been, it might have actually been 5-2-3 possibly. I think that's how I went in the beginning games. And I thought that was pretty decent, right? Because this is the first PES in since the winning 11 era, actually, I haven't bought a PES game in the longest time. But this year I saw a lot of improvements in the demo, right? And I actually thought that the demo was a very good football simulator. Obviously there was certain things that they had to work on and improve, especially the first touch, which, by the way, is they did improve it. This game is significantly better than the demo, by the way. I need to mention that right away. The game's really fun. Obviously, the dribbling can be clunky at times, but that's only because I don't have the right players yet. When I'm using players like Griezmann and Romario, who aren't even on the full chemistry, because that's how chemistry works in PES. It's based off of like the manager that you have, the tactics that he sets, so on and so forth, right? So, in regards to those types of players, without them being on that full chemistry, they're the ones that are the significant players in the game that actually move really nicely left and right, so on and so forth, right? So those are the types of players you have to strive for towards getting before actually judging the game fully, because obviously your dribbling isn't going to be great, but that's because you have poor players, right? It's obvious that it's going to be like that. I think that the game, generally speaking, is really good. There's a couple things that I'm not a huge fan of. So one of the things that I'm not a fan of in PES, and I even mentioned this to the PES guys before, is in the beginning of the game, you have to choose a formation that you're going to stick with pretty much for a while, right? So I ended up choosing the 4-2-3-1. So in the beginning, the first 5 matches, I feel like I did really poorly because the initial formation that I chose wasn't a good one, right? So I ended up doing way better in my last 6 games than I did in my first 6 games, because it's getting used to the game, getting used to what formation and tactics works out the best for you. So what happened was, I chose the 4-2-3-1, but the variation of the formation that I chose for the 4-2-3-1, it has set tactics and instructions that the manager assigns the players to, right? So there's not room for freedom like there is in FIFA, where like if in the beginning of the game you choose a 4-2-3-1 and you notice in the first 30 minutes this isn't the formation for you, you can switch it. But in PES, you kind of have to guess what you think is going to be best for you, right? So what I ended up doing after like 5 or 6 games or so, I purchased one of the managers, because that's what you do. You purchase managers to fit your playstyle, right? I purchased a manager that was also a 4-2-3-1, but it was based off of shorter passing, a narrow passage on the defense, a little bit of an aggressive defense, but not too aggressive, right? So you'll have a balance between the defense and the midfield. So it's all about finding the right manager that fits your tactics, right? The way that this game works is that in the beginning, it's incredibly frustrating. I think that's a really poor mechanic for the beginning of the game, because in general it's just very frustrating to have to deal with that, because, you know, again, if you choose a formation that you're not good with, you're going to lose a lot of matches before you can actually choose a different formation. So that is a little bit unfortunate they do that in this game, but the upside to that is that the way that this game works, right, is that, and you'll notice that I concede a lot of goals off of poor mistakes because I don't understand the mechanics sometimes, like the goalkeeper throws and all that stuff. Or you'll see how open the defense is in the first 5 games, because the defense is conservative wide, and that's just not going to really work out really nicely in this game, because people's passing plays are really good. So it has to be really congestive in the middle, but a little bit of pressure upwards, because you'll see in some of the goals that some of the people score here, it's just way too many openings on the sides. There's actually tactics or attacking instructions where you can tell your wingers to come back in the defense and stuff like that, but those things will only work once you get the better players, right? So, but in regards to the manager situation, what you can do in the future is, if you buy more managers, I believe you can have 3 different managers. So you have your main manager, and then you have 2 assistant managers. So the way that tactics works is that you can switch in game to those 2 other managers' formations while you're playing, right? So it's actually preset in the game. So if you get a different manager that has a 4-3-1-2, you can decide to use that manager in the game and switch that tactic in the game for you to be able to use that formation while you're playing. So basically it's like dynamic tactics that FIFA added, but PES has had this for a while now, right? It's not like a new mechanic, but it's really cool that it's a thing in PES, but it just takes time to get to that point. I played for like 9 hours yesterday, and there's a lot of grinding to be done, right? Like I need to get new managers to be able to switch formations when I notice a player is playing a certain way. I need to be able to switch a lot of different things. Players need to be bought, but it's exciting because it's a road to glory. So there's these kind of things are expected. The same thing happens in FIFA where you have to understand that obviously you're not going to get the things right away. So you kind of need to learn all the new game mechanics. And it's good to learn the game mechanics when you don't have the good players, like I said before, because it kind of actually makes you drill better. Because once I got players that were like a little bit better at dribbling, I felt like I became a better player because I was good at it or decent at it with the bad players. So when you get the good players, it's awesome. Like when you have the ball with Griezmann and Romario, those guys are just absolutely insane. So I can't wait to grind this game out because they do have a lot of really good legends in the game. And players like Sterling, Sane, Aguero, Higuain, Lewandowski, everybody's really usable in this game. Players like Lewandowski and Higuain are actually solid in this game. So I can't wait to stream again later today or during this video that you guys are seeing right now to grind out more games so I can get better players because I really want to do it and get so many different players because the game is really fun to play. The way that the acquiring of player goes is it's based off of packs as well, obviously. So you can either assign forwards, midfielders, or defenders, right? And goalkeepers. There's also a scouting system for you to go for more specific players, but it also costs more. So the way that the packs work, right, is it's 25,000 GP or 250 in-game not in-game currency, real life currency. We're not real. Okay, you buy the myCLUB coins, but then GP is your in-game money, right? So you have to get 25,000, and 25,000 takes a while to get if you only play online games. It's a little bit tough in the beginning, but it's worth it because the pack weight's actually quite decent. So if you open one of the packs, you'll actually get around 78, 79 rated, and then you could potentially get the really good cards. You get 3 players in one pack, so the main player that you get may not be the best player in the pack, but he might be the highest rated. That might be how it works in PES. I'm not exactly too sure, but I remember getting Asenio as a goalkeeper, which is a great goalkeeper to get in the beginning of the game, depending on the play style that the manager wants him to play and such. But he's a good goalkeeper to get in the beginning of the game. But I also got Michel Vorm in the game too, so that's like a replacement goalie if I ever need to make it, right? Which it's like FIFA, goalies don't really lose stamina that quickly, so you know, it's not like a huge deal, right? But I did end up, I believe, opening more defensive players. So I actually used the myCLUB coins, which is the one you actually buy with real life money, but I didn't use real life money. They assign you like 1,200 if you do the challenges and stuff. There's actually more, but I haven't gotten to that part of doing those challenges, and some of them are against computer, and I really don't like playing against computer, so I haven't really done that yet. But yeah, when you open the packs, the pack weight's actually quite decent. So it's not like you're going to get terrible players, you're going to get usable players. And there seems to be a balance of how much you play and the types of players you get. This game is also very pay to win. It's very, very obvious. And I've seen from multiple PES dudes from the community saying that this year is more pay to win than it ever has been. But that's usually how these game modes go. Like myCLUB, Ultimate Team, it's always like this, right? If that's the case and I lose games in this game, there's a way of having that system work, and there's a way of having that system not work. You don't care that much about your record in PES. Like I said earlier, it doesn't show on the main screen. So if you lose games 5-0, 4-0, and you don't have a great team, it doesn't bother you as much because it's not like shoved in your face. Like, haha, you lost because you don't have a good team, right? It's more like, okay, just keep grinding and keep developing the squad, which is something that I really like, right? I love that the record doesn't show on the main screen because for me personally, people give this compliment a lot when I'm streaming, and I get people are being nice when they do this. When people come to the stream and they're like, "Oh my god, your record's amazing," but I don't want the stream to be about that. I just want it to be about me playing a football simulator and having fun. You know what I'm saying? So when people come to the stream and they're like, "Oh, the record's nice," I get it. People are being nice, but I don't like it because I'd rather just play the game. If people judge me off of my rank, that's cool too. But off of a record, I don't know. It's a weird concept that I have myself, but it's just how I am right now. But like I said earlier, we did end up starting with the 4-2-3-1. We signed a different manager after these 5 or 6 games, like I said earlier, right? So now I have the short passing, narrow defending, better runs from the attackers in general, right? Because it just works out better. You'll also notice that at some point after I think like the 7th game, because here's the situation with me, right? So this is what I'm doing. When I first started playing the game, I wanted to get a feel for it, right? So the first like 7 or so games, I wanted to get a feel for the game. So I wasn't doing any skill moves. I wasn't learning anything new. I didn't do the skill training thing, which by the way is I highly recommend that you guys do because it's really important to do. You'll also see in this video at some point where you can actually see me looking at the advanced instructions, which are actually really important to know. So the way that this game works is that there's set instructions for the attacking 1, attacking 2, defensive 1, defensive 2. So you can set it to whatever you want it to be. So if you're playing and you notice that someone is crossing the ball a lot against you, you can actually in-game switch to swarm the box so you have a bunch of players playing. And I didn't realize this. After I conceded that header, I conceded 2 headers against them where I tied 2-2. And after I conceded that header, a lot of people were telling me, dude, you have to look at the advanced instructions because you're into that stuff. So it's going to really help you in the long run, right? So if you notice that someone's crossing the ball a lot against you, you can switch to swarm the box so that you can put a bunch of players in the area of the box so that when someone crosses the ball in, you can clear it out easily. There's false fullbacks that play like midfielders, like Pep does in real life, where he has his fullbacks playing like midfielders at times, or CDMs playing like fullbacks, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different play styles. There's gegenpress, so if someone's trying to waste time against you in their own half, you can use gegenpress to put pressure against the opposition so that you can try to get the ball back quicker. There's a lot of really cool tactics, and once I looked into it, I felt like I was playing better because it allowed you to switch the tactical approach to the game as you were playing. Like if you noticed that your striker was running up too much and you wanted him to be more like a false 9, you could switch to that in the game. Now, the only problem, right, that I had with these instructions is that there's so many instructions, right? So it doesn't tell you in the game what those instructions are. You have to remember it yourself, which I'm not a huge fan of, right? And understand where I'm coming from when I say this, right? If you set your attacking 1 and your attacking 2 to be, let's just say you want it to be like false 9 and you want it to be false wingers, right? So false wingers, they'll move into the midfield and play like midfielders, but they'll cut inside, right? And then like the false 9, the striker will act like a midfielder, right? And he'll be like a target man waiting for you to pass the ball for him so that he can give you certain opportunities, right? My problem with the tactical approach is, like I said, it doesn't tell you in the game, so you have to remember it. And that's a problem because if I want to switch from the attacking 1 and attacking 2 and switch those 2 options to different ones, at some moments in the game, I actually don't remember it, right? And I feel like for me personally, it's a little bit of a nuisance because it really shouldn't be a thing, right? Like it really should be the case where it tells you what it is in the game so that you don't have to remember what it is, right? So that's something that I also complain about it too. So 2 things I complain about. One is the managers with the formations in the beginning of the game, and the other thing is the tactical approach with attacking 1, attacking 2, so on and so forth. So that's the only 2 things that I noticed that I didn't like. Everything else about the game I actually did like a lot. So the games are. Things like this can be adjusted, but I don't think it will. I think it's just like a PES thing, right? So it doesn't bother me too much because if that's the case for PES, then I just accept it for what it is, right? What other things did I forget to mention? Upgrading players, definitely want to do that. That's a huge thing. Grinding out the game is really fun. The finishing in this game. Oh, we'll talk about the game mechanics now. Okay, the game mechanics in this game are gorgeous. They're gorgeous, and I've yet to have a really good team. I'm going to keep mentioning that because that's a really important thing for football simulators, because when I was doing the training stuff, I was using Manchester City, and I was using like Sergio Aguero, Sterling, Sane. These guys just feel incredible. De Bruyne, Fernandinho, like these guys feel awesome on the pitch, right? So when I get those players, this game is going to be a ton of fun to play. The dribbling is really responsive now, especially with the good players. If you use players like Sergio Aguero, Salah, Messi, like these guys dribble really nicely and very smoothly, right? The dribbling is fantastic if you have the good players. It's going to be garbage. In the beginning of the game, if you guys get the game, it's going to be really, really bad. in the beginning because you don't have the right players, right? It's gonna happen, right? The finishing in PES, I will say this, and I will say this consistently. The only thing that I wish was an actual finish in PES is the driven shots, right? I wish you could specifically do it. People told me in the PES community that you can do that by using advanced shooting, but there should be a command for you to be able to do it, because the way that you do driven shots with basic shooting commands is you don't put too much power into the shots, right? But when you do that, is it a driven shot? Yes, but is the power less in behind the shot? It is. So I wish that there was a specific way of actually hitting those shots. So if they had a similar mechanic to FIFA where it's just press B, tap B, and then the shot ends up being lower, I think that would have been a really cool mechanic to add into the game. Because the thing about PES, right, is that not every situation should you do a driven shot, right? Because the way that you approach the net after you finish your attacking opportunity, it doesn't really tell you, like, it doesn't like enforce like FIFA does where you have to do a driven shot. And in PES, there's so many different ways of finishing in different scenarios. Everything kind of just makes sense, right? When you should do a finesse shot, you do the finesse shot. When you should do a regular shot, you do a regular shot. They have a really really cool balance in the game with their finishing. The chip shots are incredible. If you're 1v1 with the goalkeeper and you're calm, you score every single time. And people say that chip shots are overpowered, but I don't consider that overpowered, because if you get into a 1v1 position with the goalkeeper and you're calm enough to chip it against the goalkeeper, you should score it majority of the times if you do it the right way, right? The finishing in this game is incredible with the right players. I miss a lot of opportunities in this game because I haven't gotten that team yet with the accuracy, the finishing, and all that stuff. But a lot of the games that I tied and I lost, like I lost to one guy yesterday, 2-1, and he was terrible at the game. I had like 5 1v1s and I couldn't score them because I didn't understand the game mechanics for the finishing. So the best thing for you guys to do is to go into that training course thing. So if you guys haven't done that yet, that's a thing that I would highly recommend, because it taught me game mechanics that I actually had no idea about. So if you guys haven't done the training stuff, do it, because it also gives you GPs for myCLUB. GPs is the in-game currency for you to open more packs, and it teaches you a lot of things. There's a high cross in the game where you press R1 and you can cross the ball high in the game, and there's the double tap cross button where it's a low cross. I didn't know about the low cross because I don't really use it in FIFA anymore, and I didn't attempt it in the game because I didn't want to try it to see if it would actually work. But it's something that I learned as I played the game. So it was really cool that the basic training actually really helps you learn a lot of things, right? With the finishing is very assisted in the beginning, but the very last training exercise is the best thing for you to do, because I learned about new skill moves in the game, and you'll see in this game in particular, you'll see, I don't know when it'll be part in the video, but I played against this guy at Inter Milan. This game was incredibly laggy. You can see the bar in the top right. It was 2 bar, 1 bar the entire game. In this game, when it lags, there is actual delay. You can feel the delay. Your players take forever to shoot. You'll see here with Romario, when I shot it, it took forever with him. I shot with the player right away. He took an extra touch, stuff like that, right? So it's very noticeable, but that's only because of lag, not because the game just switches up on you, because you can see in the top right when your game is actually lagging. I only had one laggy game this entire time when I was playing PES, so because they actually have level 4, level 5 matchmaking where you can avoid lags pretty much 85 or 90% of the times, which is an awesome thing, right? But there's so much to talk about, and I can't wait to get more in depth with this game as I understand the advanced instructions in the game, because honestly, I'm having a lot of fun with the game. I really want to improve my team, because there's just so much to do in this game in terms of improvements, the leveling system with the players that you have. So people were saying like, oh, why is Coutinho 78 rated? It's because he's a level 1, right? I can level him up to be a better player. But that is going to conclude the video for today, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys want to see more of these videos, please drop a thumbs up on it. It definitely helps out the channel a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.